Okay, I'm going to do a couple of the problems from the extra metric conversion worksheet. We'll be converting in between metrics throughout the whole year, so it's important that we learn how to do this now. So you remember that we start with our scale. It starts with kilometers. For me, to help me remind myself what goes in the middle, I know there's 2 spaces, and then I have meters, and then there's 2 spaces, and then I have millimeters. And then it's figuring out what goes in those spaces. So I know that on my ruler, the next biggest thing to millimeters is centimeters. And I know that deci sounds a little like centi, so this would be decimeters. And so that leaves me with the other 2. So there's a D on this side of the M, so there has to be a D on this side of the N. So this will be decameters, and that leaves me one more to figure out, which is hectometers. You have to know this scale. You probably learned it throughout your educational careers. The staircase, you use that sometimes, I think. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 says I have 256 meters, and I want to know how many centimeters that is. So the very first step, step 1, is to write what you know with the decimal point. So it's a whole number, and it doesn't give us the decimal place at the end, so it's assumed that that's where it's at. Okay, next I'm going to look at my scale up at the top, and I know that I'm going from meters, which is right here, to centimeters, which is right here. So I'm going to bubble once, and I'm going to bubble twice. So here I am at my decimal point, which is where I start. I'm going to go 1, 2, and this is the direction that I had to move from meters to centimeters. That's the same direction that my bubbles are going to go. So that means my answer is 25,600 centimeters. So that's number 1. Now let's do a different one. Let's do number 16. 16 says that we have 74.21 centimeters, and we want to know how many kilometers that is. So I'm going to write my scale: hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. I put in these dots. It helps me know where my bubbles are. Okay, so I know that I'm going to be starting at centimeters, and I'm going to be moving to kilometers, and it's to the left. So then the next step I want to do is I want to write what I've been given so I can make my bubbles. So 74.21, here's my decimal point, and I know that I'm going to move to the left, so I have 1 bubble, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my decimal point: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me make sure I got enough zeros. Yep. So then I just need to put my answer in, which is 3 zeros and 7421 kilometers. How about one more before? Let's do number... Well, none of these are that exciting. Let's do number 8. 8 says we have 872 kilometers. How many millimeters is that? So first I write my scale: kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. So I write what I know with a decimal point. I know that it's going to be right there because it's a whole number. So I have 872 decimal point. Now what I want to do is find out which direction I'm going and how many bubbles. So here's my kilometers, here's my millimeters. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then my answer is 872. Is that billions or millions? Millimeters. And then this might be a good time to sit back and think, does that make sense? I know that kilometers is on my car, so 872 kilometers, that's a little less than a mile. Yeah, it makes sense that there's so many of there in there. Okay, toodaloo.